Good morning. This is State of the School 24, 25 part. I'll look when I go and post it. And I'm coming very close to the end of this series. I'm almost caught up. There is one other thing that I did last year that I wanted to comment on. Right at the end of the year, I finally did an oral reading of The Eve of Christmas. Now, in December, for a number of years now, I've reposted and reposted an Advent calendar of Christmas hymns and carols, and I did that again this year. And when I finally come to Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, at that point, I usually mention the Eve of Christmas, but this year I actually read it. It's a 42 stanza poem, and written in a very difficult verse form called Spenserian stanzas. And I managed to read it, but it was hard to do. I had to do it in pieces because, frankly, I found the story moving. Not just the story, but the language. I think it's good. But anyway, so I mentioned that I did that. But what I want to do right now is read the afterword that I put at the end of it, because I did not do that. And so it's something new, but it's going to explain what some things about that poem. So this is going to be reading. I'll do the best I can. Afterword. The Eve of Christmas was originally intended as a response to a challenge to a duel of short stories. Antonson and his dueling opponent had together signed a contract of which a facsimile follows. And here it is. October 1976. I accept the challenge to a duel of short stories dealing with Christmas themes. I understand that each story must have as its setting Overtree and or Dutch Corner and some of our usual haunts. Each story must also deal with our mutually acknowledged characters. Furthermore, each story is to embrace the following themes. EA. Now, I have abbreviations for them because I put them, I'm interrupting, because I put them in the margins. Erudite allusions. A. Animals. P.S. A philosophical statement. S.H. A sense of history. S. Sex. R. Religion. O.P. Old people. A.T. Archetypes. D. Despair. E. Ecstasy, which will be tagged by appropriate abbreviations in the marginal notes. These stories are to be ready by Thanksgiving, at which time they will be printed at the author's expense and given away as Christmas presents. Signed, now I signed his name in my writing, Merciful Anonymity, because I think I had him on the ropes, and my own name, Frank Antonson. Antonson's opponent escaped on a technicality. The contract was dated, but the Thanksgiving was not. The gift recipient may assume that he has a second half of his gift forthcoming. At the time of the writing of the Eve of Christmas, however, the opponent had objected to Antonson's use of verse for a short story. To this, Antonson had replied that the quality of his story had demanded verse, a dubious justification for an apparent breach of contract. At that time, the opponent had written some 10 pages of a short story entitled Yule and Me, whence the character of Y'all. The title of the duel was to be Y'all and Us. Antonson's verse short story, of course, met at least the thematic limitations of the contract, and in addition included the themes of new seed and of coldness versus warmth. This second, so that it might more closely parallel its obvious model, John Keats' The Eve of St. Agnes. It was also Antonson's intention that The Eve of Christmas be the first chapter of the collaborative epic pre-story, signed, or sort of signed, The Critic, Dutch Corner, December 1977. Well, the critic was me. I also put a note on the translation, which I could read it, but I don't have to. What I did was I just rewrote the last stanza, but I wrote it as I had composed it in Artok writing. When I printed it, I printed it in standard English spelling, and I called it a transcription, I think. I'll read it. It'll sound a little different because I wrote this in dialect. There's none remains on earth except the mountain, of all the ones I've told of in this tale. And years have passed beyond the length of counting, but Wedge's line through Jewel was not to fail. In fact, her firstborn child to Yol was male. And always of this child they said that he'd the duty to remind those in this vale of them that come here, them that took the lead. And now I've told you what I know of my own seed.